Hey guys, it's Chris and welcome back to another Game of Thrones Season 8 video. So the trailer has come out now, we've all digested it and likely watched it about 153 times a piece. But today I want to talk about something, a little aspect of the trailer that we didn't see, and that is the Night King. So first let me thank Al Jimmy and Mike Diesel for sending me messages about this Entertainment Weekly article that came out today as far as the actor who plays the Night King, and that is Vladimir Furtick. But first off, let me thank my newest Patreon. Thank you to Andy Perkins. I really appreciate the support. Thank you to everyone on Patreon. You guys keep this channel going through the long night. Anyway, he is the guy who plays the Night King, at least from seasons 6 through 8. Who took over for Richard Brake previously. And just to give you a little bit of backstory on Vladimir Furtick, he did a lot of stunts and stunt double work. For example, he was the stunt double who played Sir Arthur Dayne during the Tower of Joy fight scene. And of course, this is actually the same guy who came into season 6 and we saw tied to the tree by the Children of the Forest to become the Night King. So anyway, in this article here, which I will link in the description below from Entertainment Weekly, he answers a few questions about Season 8, which is actually pretty rare for him. He doesn't do a lot of interviews and things like that because obviously he's kind of the man behind the makeup and we don't see him that often as compared to our main characters. But some of his answers certainly bring up some great questions and I think maybe confirm an idea we've had here on SmokeScreen for a long time. So the first little part of this article I won't get into too much, but basically he says he took over the role after season 5 because he did play the White Walker that you see here, who Jon Snow fought at Hardhome. So that was actually him, the first White Walker that Jon Snow killed was Vladimir as well. And then apparently Dan and Dave asked him to play the Night King in season 6 through 8. So anyway, you can see here the photo cover of Entertainment Weekly here with the Night King. It looks like they've changed the look of his eyes again for some reason, or maybe it's just a close-up of what they actually look like. But we saw the eyes close-up last year in previous seasons, and of course they actually used that in their marketing campaign last year for Winter is Here. So I don't know why they changed the eyes again. I don't want to get into that. I don't know if it's necessarily a clue to anything. I think it's just a new look as they've always changed the White Walkers. But in this interview, they pretty much asked him straight up some things about the Night King in Season 8, and here was his answers. So one of the first questions they asked him regarding Season 8 was, what does the Night King want anyway? And his response was this: somebody made him the Night King. Nobody knows who he was before, a soldier or part of nobility. He never wanted to be the Night King. I think he wants revenge. Everybody in this story has two sides, a bad side and a good side. The Night King only has one side, a bad side. So right there, that kind of contradicts the whole entire story as far as George R. R. Martin style anyway, about everybody being kind of gray as far as just black and white characters, good and evil, etc. Vladimir here is saying that the Night King only has a bad side and he thinks he wants revenge. Now again, he could be just throwing stuff out there. He certainly doesn't want to spoil anything. But the interesting part of this was somebody made him the Night King. Nobody knows who he was before. A soldier or part of nobility. Now I think this certainly hints at what we've been saying for the last couple years now, that he is in fact a Stark, or as we'd like to call it here on SmokeScreen, a proto-Stark. Because as far as the history goes, again, the history could be very much wrong, there wouldn't have been technically a House Stark at the time he was created, just First Men in general. So that's why we say proto-Stark, but of course the history may be wrong and it may be way off as far as the actual timelines, which is likely true because remember, these books are written in POV chapters. These characters have their own points of view and they could be misinformed themselves, so that's why we say they're unreliable narrators. So I definitely think this points to the idea of him being revealed as a Stark, and it only makes sense. If you think about the balance of ice and fire, Jon being the Song of Ice and Fire, he is related to Dany on the fire side, so I think through his Stark lineage, he has to be related to the Night King in some way. So I've always thought that the Night King was a Stark or Proto-Stark, but the way he words it here really kind of confirms for me that he was part of nobility, as he put it, which would be House Stark in this case. And the other thing I wanted to mention really quickly is they asked him straight up, what can we expect from him in the final season? And his answer was, quote, people will see he has a target he wants to kill, and you will find out who that is. There's also that moment in Hardhome when Jon was on the boat and the Night King looked at him and raised his arms. There's a similar and even stronger moment between Jon and the Night King this time. So that's really interesting here. So he mentions the fact that Hardhome he had a stare down with Jon, and that in season 8 there's an even stronger moment between these two. But right before that he says he has a target he wants to kill. Now at first I read that, I was thinking, could that target be a person, place, or a thing? But then he goes on to say, and you will find out who that is. Who could it be? I don't think it's some random character we wouldn't even know about or hadn't heard of before, so this is likely referring to one of our main characters. Now, the first thought I had was it could be Daenerys Targaryen, because she does have dragons, she's come back to Westeros with fire and blood, and it would make sense thematically as far as ice versus fire, because again, the Night King represents ice, Dany represents fire, and Jon Snow represents both. But at the same time, it doesn't make sense because there's been Targaryens in Westeros forever, up until only 14 years prior, at least in the books, when Robert won the Battle of the Trident during Robert's Rebellion and took over the throne from the Targaryen dynasty for the first time since Aegon's conquest. So then you can kind of run through the other ones. I don't think it would be someone like Sansa or Arya or any other regular Stark. It wouldn't make much sense. There's always been Starks. I've even thought about people like Melisandre. Maybe it's the religion of R'hllor. She comes over with this fire worship, and he's very anti-fire, obviously. So that's certainly a possibility, but then again, they've been around for a long time in Essos as well. Only recently have they got to Westeros, but there's always been these fire worshippers and other very weird religions around the world, so that doesn't make much sense either. And then you have to talk about some of the obvious ones, such as Jon Snow or Bran Stark himself. Now, we've seen Bran be chased after by whites, but they never killed him, and the question is, were they actually going to? So they came in and killed blood ravens. We know that happened. We saw that on screen. And I do think they would have killed Bran if they caught him, because Benjen did save him. So the point being is, I do think they were trying to kill Bran, so he certainly wants to kill him, because he certainly would be a threat to the Night King, just like Bloodraven has. And you can see back last season when he killed Bloodraven, he definitely knew who he was. It seems to me they've had these mental battles for a long, long time, and it's like he finally got his revenge on this three-eyed raven character in the cave. So maybe he's simply trying to kill Bran and trying to prevent any more three-eyed ravens for whatever reason. But again, there's always been green seers and children of the forest. And of course, you got to mention the main character, Jon Snow. The reason this kind of stands out to me as wanting to kill Jon is he is the Song of Ice and Fire. He is the first of his kind, essentially, although there's been some very near misses, such as Bloodraven himself. But at the same time, he's had many chances to kill Jon already, and he didn't do so. I think for damn sure he could have killed Jon last season north of the Wall, but that was obviously a dragon trap because they could have frozen that water almost instantaneously, but they sit there and waited for it to freeze and essentially waited to start the battle so Dany could come up there with dragons so he could steal one. So I think he could have already killed Jon Snow if he wanted to, and he's definitely trying to because we saw Jon Snow escape and the Whites went after him, and if the Night King didn't want him dead, he would have certainly stopped the Whites from ever chasing him in the first place. And I just get the feeling when they have their little stare downs here that he's basically laughing at him. He certainly knows who he is in some regard, but he's not really worried about killing him. So anyway, guys, I'll leave it to you in the comments to let me know what you think. Who do you think he's trying to kill? Is it someone we haven't seen before? Could it be someone like Howland Reed meddling in werewood.net? Or could it simply be what he's been trying to do this whole entire time and kill Jon Snow or Bran Stark or someone like that, or both, because he's some kind of threat to him? And these answers are quite vague, but it does in fact state that he has a specific target he wants to kill, and he does say we'll find out who that is as opposed to where that is. But then again, maybe it is a certain location where this person is, and that certainly could be the God's Eye or the Owl of Faces, as I've been saying in the endgame theory, and maybe he's just trying to meet his maker completely and meet this Order of the Green Men on the Owl of Faces and kill them, his makers, destroy the magic that created him in the first place so he can lift this curse of him being the Night King, because that's exactly what it is, a curse he was forced to live with for thousands of years. So anyway, guys, as usual, let me know what you think in the comments below, and thank you for all the support. I really appreciate it, especially to you guys on Patreon, and a huge shout out to my executive Patreon SmokeScreen producers. And as usual, if you dig what I do here, please give these videos a like, comment, and share. And of course, be sure to subscribe to get everything and click that notification bell so you're notified when I drop a new video. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.